The primary purpose of a one-on-one conversation is to deepen our relationships so we can learn how to best put our values into action together.
22.3% of people are living below that poverty line. Having some information about who people are and having those one-to-one conversations, I think it gives us a better appreciation for the difficulty of their life and the things that they have to struggle with.
Some of the kind of ideas that we're learning tonight are things that we can go back immediately and begin practicing in our congregations, with our friends, in our volunteer work, all aspects of our lives.
So all of this stress happens. It doesn't just go away. And especially for young kids, it gets inside a little bit. So when you get to your tutoring role, you're working with your student, and they're upset, or they're hungry, or they're tired, or whatever it might be, I just want you to think a little bit about that.
When we just don't understand why is someone responding the way they are, or why is someone behaving the way they are, these kinds of conversations can uncover the really deep-seated values and the pain that all of us carry around and that influence how we behave in the world, so that we can be more deeply in relationship, more understanding, and actually work together better. The goal of a one-on-one conversation, I think, is really to find out what makes the other person tick. What gets them out of bed in the morning? What wakes them up at night? What are they most passionate about? I always say you don't want to go in with a set of questions like you're just doing an interview. I sometimes go in with one question to get the conversation rolling. Then my job is really just to listen and examine my own curiosity.
Especially working with young kids, you start the conversation with, so tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your favorite color? Do you have any brothers or sisters? Any kind of like basic questions like that. It helps you to kind of relate with them so you can meet them where they're at, and then let's move forward. Let's start this journey. Let's talk about math now. Let's talk about reading.
Because of their unknown backgrounds and we're almost strangers to them, this is a really good way to dig a little deeper and to build a relationship, and I think that can help them feel a lot more comfortable when we're working with them.
Your job is to be curious and courageous and to ask risky questions. You've all heard people say things like, when my dad died in a car accident, when my daughter came out of the closet, when I got laid off, and then they just like move on, right? In a one-on-one conversation, you're listening for those times when they crack the door open a little bit, almost like to test you. Do you care enough to ask me about this thing? What if you were to ask, wow, I didn't know that was part of your story. What was that like for you when that happened? In the process, sometimes we can help the other person uncover things that maybe they knew subconsciously but had never really formulated a thought about or articulated out loud. Just think about how having those kinds of relationships could transform the work that we do together and help us have each other's back.
Teaching is a process. And most of what we're doing in our work is teaching. Starting with that conversation, getting to know a little bit about the person, and then keeping things moving forward, I think, is the most difficult thing. You have to keep going, you have to kind of keep focusing on the goal.
The Bible tells us 4 different times in 4 different ways you need to teach your children about these things, because there's more than one child. And our responsibility isn't exhausted if we think we don't have the right answer for the particular child we're facing. We have to try again and formulate our response according to what the child needs. The rabbinic commentary actually implies you need to teach them. One of the primary differences between telling and teaching is that you can tell absent a relationship. You can only teach within a relationship.
What I took away after having seen the whole event was I could spend maybe more time just trying to connect with that child and not worry so much about the agenda.
The key takeaway from a one-on-one training is to lean into vulnerability, to be curious and courageous and take risks to get to know another person deeply. My experience has almost always been that it's a profoundly moving experience, that people feel like you're giving them a gift of being heard and listened to. People actually want to have these kinds of conversations. They want to be vulnerable with another person and to be deeply known.